Welcome back to the Hoops 365 podcast. I'm Bryce Hemseth, and I'll be your host. Today we'll be talking about all the mid-season trades that have happened leading up to the NBA trade deadline. Let's get started. The New York Knicks traded R.J. Barrett, Immanuel Quickley, and a 2024 second-round pick to the Toronto Raptors for OG Anunoby, Malachi Flynn, and Precious Achiuwa. Here are some key notes for the New York Knicks. Remove long-term money and create extra cap space. They will hopefully sign OG Anunoby to a long-term extension this summer. And they did a defensive-minded player out of OG Anunoby that Tom Thibodeau should love. Here are the Toronto Raptors key notes. Received two solid players to help the reset around Scottie Barnes. Received assets for another trade. Resets roster with a new, fresh rotation for the reset. The Detroit Pistons and Washington Wizards also agreed on a trade, sending Marvin Bagley, Isaiah Livers, and two second-round picks to the Washington Wizards for Danilo Gallinari and Mike Muscala. The Detroit Pistons keynote creates instant cap space for the offseason and sets them up real nicely going into free agency. They could potentially have up to $66 million in cap space. Could trade or buy out either player and receive younger depth pieces that could help him get into rotation. Creates more playing time for their young depth pieces. Here are the Washington Wizards keynotes. It's two younger players to help the rebuild and players that could potentially be in the rotation. Receives two second-round picks to possibly draft players or use as trade assets. Receives long-term contracts they could use moving forward. Pascal Siakam was traded to the Indiana Pacers. The Toronto Raptors received 3 first-round picks, Bruce Brown and Jordan Nwora in this trade. The New Orleans Pelicans were also involved in this trade. They sent Kira Lewis to the Toronto Raptors and a second-round pick to the Indiana Pacers, and they received cash considerations. Here are some key notes for the Indiana Pacers. Receive another all-star level player to pair with Tyrese Halliburton. Creates roster space they could potentially sign depth pieces. Becomes a possible contender for the Eastern Conference Finals and more. Here are the Toronto Raptors key notes. Received multiple picks for future assets or they could use moving forward. Creates cap space. Receives assets they could potentially use in another trade including Bruce Brown. Pelicans keynotes. Gets out of luxury tax, creates roster spot, and sets himself up better for upcoming free agencies. The Miami Heat and Charlotte Hornets agreed on a trade sending Kyle Lowry and a 2027 lottery-protected first-round pick to the Charlotte Hornets. They returned the Miami Heat got Terry Rozier. The Heat gets much younger and a dependable point guard. Received value out of a expiring contract in Kyle Lowry. Sets himself up to be a long-term contender. Here are the Charlotte Hornets keynotes. Creates cap space for free agency due to Kyle Lowry's contract expiring. Receives future first-round picks they could use or as trade assets. It's another step towards their much-needed rebuild. That's it for today. As always, Have a great day and follow all Hoops 365 social media. Thank you.